is the Obstacle Overcomer podcast, dedicated to helping you overcome the obstacles that have been holding you back. My name is Nikki, and I'm a mother, author, empowerment speaker, singer, narrative changer, and obstacle overcomer. Each week, I'll be bringing you both the spiritual and practical tools that will empower you to overcome the challenges that you've been facing. You have the power to change the narrative of your life. You don't have to accept things as is. And always remember, obstacles are not barriers. They are stepping stones. Welcome back to another edition of the Obstacle Overcomer podcast. It's your girl, your host, Nikki Johnson, the Overcomer, and your empowerment coach. Let me bring on some queens to join me. All righty, ladies, we are live. Can y'all hear me? Let me bring on some queens to join me. Okay, so someone has to turn down their other devices. We are live. You can turn one down. So here we go. Can y'all hear me? I need to see the request. I'm adding you guys on. Someone has to turn down their other devices. You can turn one down. So here we go. All right, you join. All right, you guys. I can hear myself.
Okay, right, I'm sorry. I can't get it right.
All right, what you can do is just turn down one of your devices. You can mute since we can hear ourselves. What you can do is just turn down
all right, I'm muted.
You can mute since we can hear ourselves. What about you, Keita? Do you have two things playing?
I do. I have my one monitor and have my.
Can you mute one of them?
Or I thought I did.
Okay, so she's joined. So let's see. We have Knee Baby on. Knee Baby, tell me, can you hear us well? We have a lot of feedback.
I'm muted.
Okay. That's okay, because what's going to happen is if we can't get it to act right, we're going to get off of Instagram and just continue this on Facebook. All righty. So we have some people that are coming in. Instagram, hello, Knee Baby. Hello, Motivational. That's Jacko. Can you guys hear us? Or is there feedback? Let me see. Let me lean that way I can see the responses. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. This is a live edition of the Obstacle Overcomer podcast. Today we have Dr. Raye White with us. We have Keita Pratt. We're going to be talking about overcoming dyslexia and the struggles and stigmas that go along with that. And we're going to be talking about some information and some resources that can be of some help to you all. We still have that feedback. So I need to know from you guys over here in Instagram land. Is there feedback? Can you hear us well, or is there echo? And those who are watching us via Facebook, how is it? Okay, so it's still doing it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pin how you can join us over on Facebook if you are interested, because we're going to have to get off of Instagram because there's just way too much feedback. So here is the link for that. Let me pin it. It won't let me pin it. All right, it wouldn't let me pin it. However, if you will copy paste that and join us over on Facebook at that link right there, or you can go to the Obstacle Overcomer podcast. We'll see you guys over there. So sorry we weren't able to work it out here, but we'll see you over on Facebook. Thank you. All righty. Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. So now here we go. Thank you guys for being patient. Again, we're going to be talking about dyslexia, the invisible ability, which is a term that I love that Keita has coined. It is her invisible ability. So starting off, how about Dr. White, you tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then Keita, you do the same. Tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, thank you, Nikki, for having us on the show. I am Dr. Raye White. I have been in education for a long time, and I started off as a teacher and worked my way through the system. So I deal with special ed education with parents, but most of all, I dealt with it as a mother of a son who was or is dyslexic. And so I was on both sides of the table as a parent and as an administrator. And so I'm just here to help other parents matriculate through the system to make sure that their child is receiving the services that they need and desire in order for them to become the best representation of who they want to be.
I love that. We're going to talk about that and your son in just a little bit. What about you, Keita? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. So I am Keita Pratt, and I am a dyslexic adult. And pretty much I have made it my personal goal to assist and help people facing similar issues to myself, even adults, children, and adults who face issues similar to myself, by teaching them lifelong skills that includes building self-esteem, confidence, and self-advocacy. These lifelong skills are foundations for the success of a dyslexic person. So pretty much it's my desire to uplift, encourage, and motivate those like myself and give them the information so they will be able to use their strengths and not their weaknesses, so they can live day to day and be successful and win. So pretty much that's all I have.
I love that. And guess who is saying hello? Your mom is saying hello. So some of you may remember Keita has been on the Obstacle Overcomer before, blew us away. Oh my gosh, the emails, the comments about that interview. So it's a pleasure to have you back. And you guys get the pleasure of meeting Dr. White, who I'm falling in love with. She is so awesome. She's so real, but she has so much information, and her heart, her passion is in this work. So let's talk a little bit about that. Your first encounter with dyslexia was with your son, Dr. White. Tell us about that and how you discovered he had dyslexia.
As a parent, yes, he was in he was 3 and he still wasn't talking. He was a biter when he was in nursery school, and I had my first parent conference sitting on the other side of the desk, and I realized that was not fun. And so just going to trying to figure out what was best for him, took him to a psychologist, and they told us that if you give him an algebra problem, he can answer it. But if you ask him what's 1 + 1, he wouldn't be able to. And he was 3 when they told us that.
Wow.
And so I had to try to figure out what I could do as a parent. But what really brought it home for me was when he was in daycare and they had homework, he had to like cut some things out. And I told him, I said, "Come on, son, let me help you with your homework." And he said, "Nah, mama, you too mean. I'm gonna go ask Gran." And then I started, I was like, wait a minute, if I can't reach my own child, what about the students sitting in my class? So it made me start doing research on brain-based education and learning styles. And me being an educator, I teach the way I learn. And that's why a lot of the kids were not learning what I was trying to teach, because I was only teaching one way. So not only did this help me as a parent, it also helped me professionally, because I changed my whole perspective of the way I would teach in order to make sure that I was reaching kids. So going through that with him, and was just praying and asking God, okay, when will that light bulb turn on? Because, you know, my son's supposed to be a genius. But, you know, so I started falling into that, that the stigma that parents would fall into. You know, my child's supposed to be a genius. He's not supposed to have any issues.
Right.
But when I started looking at the way he thinks, and if I change the way I present what he, you know, what he's learning, if I present it in a manner that is good for him, then he can learn. So the first thing I had to do, I had to come up with no pass, no play at the age of 3. So, because he'd been in sports, I was like, okay, dude, you act a fool at school, then you can't go play basketball. You know, so he had no pass, no play since he was 3. So, but you have to find something that they love, and sports was my thing for him. And just having him tested, talking with the teachers. And when it became hard for me as a parent, and my boys had the unfortunate blessing to have me as their administrator in middle school.
They couldn't get away from you at all.
Yeah. So, but it became a challenge when I was the administrator on the campus, and I'm looking at what my staff is doing for my son. And literally, I had to tell him, back off him if he can do it himself. Don't try to do it. And I had to let him know it's okay. You learn different. And I had to keep him encouraged. And one thing that I did do, I did not penalize him if he brought home a C. Or, well, he didn't bring home any D's, because he knew I was going to ask his teachers 3 questions. Did he do all of his assignments? Did he ask for help? And did he do his best? And if the teachers said yes to all 3 of those questions, we celebrated whatever that grade was as if it was an A, because that was his best.
I love that.
And he only brought home C's 2 or 3 times his whole education thing. So he knew, as long as I give my best, it's okay. And I think that's one thing we have to teach our kids. Sometimes the best isn't a B, the best isn't a C. And especially if they have learning differences. I like the way when Keita said that, learning differences.
Yeah.
But giving them the courage, I mean, to encourage him. And so he knew he was going to go to college. He knew I wasn't paying for college, so he had to find a way, either some form of scholarship or something.
Yeah.
And praise God, he was able to get an athletic scholarship and went to college. He knew how to, because of being in special education, we used it to level the playing field. So he learned all of the modifications that he needed to do, the strategies that he needed to do. I truly believe that he was more prepared to go to college than my other son, that I call my politician. So, but when he got to college, he knew to keep his paperwork. I gave him a brown envelope and I said, son, if you ever have any issues, you go to the student services. Now, granted, when he was in high school, he did take AP classes. Can you believe a special education student taking AP classes?
I can.
Yes, because you push them to do their best. You don't lower the standard.
Because special education doesn't mean can't learn. It
Correct.
doesn't mean stupid. It doesn't mean unable to retain. It means the education has to be specialized for them.
Yes. And you use it again to level the playing field. Yeah. And like I said, when he was in school, I did have to I don't want to say fight with him, but there were certain modifications that they had. I told him, like, one was to accept misspelled words. And so I told him, I said, look, if the assignment was due at the end of class, but see, he had a spell checker. Now these kids got it on the phone. They can check that before they turn that in. But I was like, okay, if it was due at the end of class, I can understand it. But if it was a project, or if he had time to get it checked and stuff, then no, take off a spelling.
Right.
You know, so there's some modifications that to me can hinder Because when he went to college, the professor not going to say, we're not going to take off. We're not going to do this. And so there was some that I really, they need them, but some of them you have to be sure that you let the child know we only use this when we have to. You don't use these all the time. So it's just going through that. But now I say my son graduated from college, and now he's working on his master's at Baylor in theology. And that was a lot of reading. Can't believe, because he got to read all them Old Testament, New Testament, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So he has learned that, okay, if I have to talk about this chapter, I may have to start reading it a week ahead, and I may have to listen to it, and I may have to do it. So he used all of his strategies. When he writes a paper, he has to have enough time where someone can proof it for him. So he used all of that. So it just leveled the playing field. And when he really needed assistance, he took the thing to the student services at the university so they can give them the modifications. So, yeah.
Yes, it is a very important conversation. And if you all will, please share this. Tag people that you think can benefit from this conversation by either adding that have questions. Maybe they have a child, or they are an adult with dyslexia, or maybe they work with children that have any type of needs that are different. I just think a need is a need. Your need may not be like mine, but it's a need. First of all, thank you for sharing all of that, because you're really encouraging a parent that has a child. Maybe it's not dyslexia, maybe it's just something that is not the norm. And you are telling them to prepare your child for the real world. Yes. Some things may have to be modified, but modified with caution is what I felt like you were saying. Know your child, know your child's learning style. You mentioned, I wrote it down, you said brain-based education, which sounds like to me what you were giving your son according to what you knew he could do, what you wanted him to do, or what you knew the potential would be, I should say it that way. And so therefore you made sure that all of the educators, the counselors, everybody that came in contact with your son, all y'all were on the same page when it came to educating him the way he needed to be educated. And I think that's so very important. I don't have dyslexia, but when I go see my doctors, I hate when they start saying things like, well, statistically, a woman your age, an African-American, that's wonderful. I'm glad you know stats, but know me, know who I am and what I need. So I love the way you did that. So we're going to come back to that, Miss Keita. For those that do not know, and good evening to all of you. We have Sandra saying hello. I don't know if the name was Say or Sa. Sorry. Sandra. Say S-A-A McCarthy.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, not sure who that is. But hello to you, to Laura, to Fasia Hilton, Williette, your mother, and everyone else who is watching. Again, if you have not shared, please share this right now. All righty, Miss Keita, let's tell everyone, when was it that you first realized that you were having any issues in the area of, okay, I guess I said it right, thank you, that you were having any issues in the area of,
I said Pastor Sai, that's my pastor.
I'm sorry, it's Sai.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Hello,
no problem.
Is that Sine?
Yes, Sine.
Y'all, me and these names, I'm trying. Okay, so Keita, tell us, when was it that you first started realizing that there was something going on, and what were the things that you were starting to notice?
So pretty much, I was in second grade when it was determined that I had a learning difference. And throughout that, it has just been, I've been in special education from the second grade until my senior year, until I graduated out of high school. So that's when we found out. Now, was I tested like today's like today's youth are being tested. No, I was not tested like everyone else. But as time went on, I learned that it was a word that was associated with my condition, and it was the word called dyslexia. And with that word, it had empowered me. It made me feel I was normal. It gave me, confidence. It allowed me to be able to know that I had a tribe of people that was for me and that I was not out here all alone. So it was second grade when we found out, my mother and I and my father, that I had a learning difference. Yeah.
Can you tell us real quick, Keita? So what were the things in second grade that they were noticing, or you were noticing? Like, what were the things that made someone say there is something different here?
So pretty much it was kind of noticed when the teacher would call on me to either read out loud, and I would shy away from it. I would shy away from test taking. I would, sometimes I could, become distracting based on, I can distract other children because I want to be deemed to be called on in school. So throughout my progress reports, it was noticed at that point that it was a difference. There was something going on because, when it came to reading and writing and spelling, I was not good at, or I shied away from it. So from that time, they moved me onto the third grade just because they wanted to keep me with my peers because of my height, based on, they wanted to feel that I was like, they didn't want me to feel out of place. So making me not feel out of place, they just moved me on without making sure that I could comprehend enough just to even get to the third grade. So they just kind of moved me throughout school, and not really to not really assist me as if some of the tools that's out here today, far as they will help me with test taking, far as reading the questions out loud to me, allow me to circle the answers. When it came to writing, they will allow me to write, but they would review it with me and change up stuff regarding what made sense and what didn't make sense. When it came to the different techniques that's being used today, I was not privy to those things as if Dr. White's son kind of was privy to. So it's just so good right now that we're bringing this conversation and bringing awareness to people to let them know that they don't have to stay in the misery that they are in, because they have people that is willing to have the conversation to give them the help that they need, and to pretty much let them know that, hey, these are some of the signs and the symptoms that you should look at to get your child tested early so that they can go to college. They can have, decent paying jobs, to make them feel they are accomplished, they're worthy, and they're more than enough.
I love that. I want to hit on something real quick, because right now someone may be watching or listening or catch this in the replay, and they may have a child, or maybe this is an adult that never just was diagnosed. I want to talk about when you said you shied away from like reading, you would shy away from test taking, you would be intentionally disruptive. So you probably would either get sent away, sent out, whatever that moment was, you didn't have to engage in it. We know children can be kids. We know kids can have a whole bunch of energy and not know what to do with it. But I've always paid attention as an early child educator. When a child is a particular way, there's always a reason. So if someone wants to get a little bit more understanding to, she sounds like maybe my child, or she sounds like one of the children that I teach, or she sounds like me, how would you describe what it felt like when you saw a test, when you had to read? What was that moment like for you? Was it hard to understand the words? Did you get tensed up because it just looked like a bunch of Chinese writing? Like, what was that like for you?
For me, I froze up. I had the sweaty palms. I get, agitated, like fidgety, and pretty much those were some of the things that would come upon me when I would get called on, far as answering a question or to read out loud.
Right.
So I will raise my hand to go to the restroom. I will instantly have a emergency out of nowhere, because I'm like, I can't get out like this. So those are some of the things that, I would do. I would just doodle on my paper. If I couldn't understand it, far as test taking, I would just leave it. I would sit just silently, in the classroom with my pencil, laid down to the paper, and not even look at it, not even worry about it, just staring off in space as if, I didn't know what else to do to try to avoid those moments. Yeah.
Wow. I know that is resonating with so many people right now. And I'm hoping that we get some educators, some counselors. Now, I know there is so much more information out there. I got you, Dr. White. I'm coming. There's so much more information out there now than when you were going through it before your diagnosis. But still, I don't think that there's enough training. And I understand that there is specific training for people that work specifically with this, but I think it should also be some basic level of signs to look for, things to be mindful for, because there are so many kids that are now my age. I'm 45, I'm going to be 46 in 2 months, that are adults now that went through that and nobody knew what it was. You were just labeled troubled. You didn't want to do the work. And if someone calls you something enough, you're going to be that. So you fought a lot. You skipped school. You got into other things. And so I really hope that everyone is paying close attention to this. Dr. White, go ahead.
I truly believe that now those are signs that we look for in education. I have so many students that I work with. When I noticed this one little girl, every time she had to go to the restroom, or her pencil broke, or she couldn't find her paper, or, so I truly believe, and I'm hoping that a lot of the teachers and counselors are now seeing those as signs to make us want to ask for a child to be tested. So I can say that I truly believe that those are the signs we're looking for. And especially because of COVID, and the kids are kind of already at a disadvantage or at a delay, COVID just has intensified that. So with all of the interventions and stuff we're trying to do and working more closely with those kids, I'm hoping that I can speak for the educators of the world, that we use those as signs now when students do that.
I hope so. I haven't seen it in every place, but I hope so. And I hope it reminds me of when, and I don't remember his name, when the young man that had autism was pulled over, and they started advocating for having something on your license, something that would let the officer know. But at the same time, people were saying they need to also be trained. So I think, first of all, I love what you do. And I love the fact that you have such firsthand experience that it crossed over into your professional life. But for those that don't, I hope that it becomes part of an educator's training, not just if you are specializing in specific learning disabilities, if that makes sense. Keita, would you like to add anything before we go on?
No, I just love, Dr. White. She, she fills in like the areas where, it's kind of like she's on the educational side. So she are, pretty much everything I'm saying, she's making sense about like what is happening today, even though I haven't been in school in like 20 years, but it's still happening today, and she's seeing that. So it's amazing that we can have this conversation, that her as being the educator and me as being the lived experience. Right. And I just love the conversation. I'm just amazed by it.
So I want to talk about homeschooling and COVID. We talked about this, the three of us, over on Clubhouse before, but let's bring the conversation here. So there are a lot of parents that are still having to homeschool or doing half a days, whatever the school districts are deeming safe for their kids now. A lot of those parents have had to become not just advocates, but teachers, and they don't really know how to help their child at home when it comes to learning, when it comes to homework. So as a doctor and as a parent that went through it, what would be some advice or even resources that you could offer? And what are some of the things that you were seeing in your profession where that's concerned?
Pros and cons.
That part.
Yeah, it's a good thing if you know what you're doing. You have the time to put in, because the child with the learning difference will take more time. And
Right.
so you can't just say, oh, I only have 30 minutes, and the child may need an hour to
Right.
complete one problem.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as the parent can have the time, the patience, and is asking for support.
Yeah.
There's so many parents, and I don't want to say and schools,
Mm-hmm.
who just put them on the back burner during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't just everyone dropped the ball. I think it just, people were just trying to survive during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the parent need to do is, if the child is already diagnosed, is to stay in close communication with their case manager to make sure that they are receiving the modifications according to their IEPs. Even if they were doing it via Zoom, I know of schools that still had the case manager working with the student in a,
Mm-hmm.
like in a separate room if they were in a class. And then also making sure that the child is doing their part and
Right.
not trying to use the disability as for not doing the assignment or not turning it in at all. But the main thing I would say to a parent is that you will have to stay on both ends, the school and the child, to make sure everyone is doing their part to meet that need.
I love that. What would you say to parents that actually started doing the work for the child just so the work could be turned in? They got impatient, they were tired, they came in from work, and they wanted to make sure those assignments got turned in. What would you say, being an educator, but being a mother that was like, don't do that, do not baby my child? So what would you say to them?
That they're doing a huge disservice.
Yeah.
And instead of helping, you're doing more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know when I was working, because my son that's dyslexic, he's random and I'm analytical. And so what I would have to do, because I'm like, dude, you don't see it, step 1, 2, 3, 4, this, that, and he'll go step 1, then step 5, and probably go back to 2, then go to 9. And I'm just like, I don't understand how you learn this. I really don't. But just because he doesn't learn it, or he didn't learn it the way I did, I had to be patient and to let him express it his way. And he could tell you the answer. And he was that kid. You could give him a math problem, he can tell you the correct answer. He may not be able to have told you how he got the correct answer, but he was able to do it. And so I just had to continue to encourage him to go, all right, but you're gonna have to pay close attention, because you know that teacher is going to ask you to show your work.
Right.
And just be patient with them and allow them to make the mistake. And even if you have to step outside and just go, oh, Jesus, Lord, give me some more strength.
That part.
But walk back in with that same, you got this, you got this.
Yeah.
You know, to let them know that it's okay, because they don't learn the same way that you do. And I tell you, and my son Evan, his confidence level is out the roof. He'll volunteer to do anything. He'll volunteer to read, but you have to instill or give them that confidence. Although you read slower, that don't mean you can't read. And I remember when my friend that was a reading specialist was working with him, and he started reading the Captain Underpants series. And I'm like, really? He was like, really? And you want him to read? Let him read Captain Underpants. So he started off with Captain Underpants and then ended up reading series because he fell in love with reading. Because you have to let them do it the way that they want to. And so what, he started off with Captain Underpants, and then he went to all the other different series. And I mean, he was reading all of them, the Lemony Spicket one, the what's the one, the author is from San Antonio, with the little boy. But anyway, he read all of them. And so we made a field trip going to the library. So you have to you have to do that trade-off. And he knew that, all right, my mama gonna make me read a book. Yeah, but you're gonna want to go to basketball practice.
Right.
Or you're gonna want to go to so I use sports. I knew sports was gonna be how I keep him in school.
Right.
And so he played every sport. Basketball, soccer, tennis, whatever sport that it sure enough did. But that's what I knew. That's what he liked to do. And that kind of run track. He was like, Mama, I don't need to run track. Yes, you do. Run track. We did everything. But you have to have that balance.
I love that. I'm coming to your questions and comments in a moment. Cheryl Washington, thank you, because that's one of my questions coming up. She's given a resource. We're definitely going to put that on the screen in a moment. When I was raising my two sons, you just can't raise them the same. What I could punishing one where he couldn't talk on the phone or go anywhere was heaven to him. He doesn't like the phone anyway. He doesn't like being around people. So that had no effect at all. You have to tailor the way you raise, teach, and even the child's education to them. So thank you for saying that. We're going to come to your question as well, Pastor McCarthy, in just a moment. So Keita, I'm going to give you the question on the flip side. So I asked her as an educator and a parent, what would she say to a parent during this time of having to, homeschool your child during COVID? What encouragement could you give to a student, whether it's college, elementary, middle school, that is dealing with dyslexia, having to learn from home from a parent that may not have all the patience in the world, from a parent that may not even have a lot of time, or even a parent that may have a bit of a temper? What would you say to encourage them? Because you know it from a frustration level, you know it from a really trying and a struggle level. So what would you say to encourage them right now?
So pretty much this is what I would say to my other dyslexic cousins out there. So get a routine schedule, right? Because even while
love it, your cousins. I love that.
Get a schedule in place and try to stick to that schedule. Take your breaks. Make sure you take your breaks. And when it becomes overwhelming, sometimes we have fidgeted toys, we have stress balls. We have to utilize those tools as well. Also, in the process of that, make sure that you still have a community of people that you can conversate with when you're going through stress or you getting frustrated or agitated. Make sure that you have safety nets of people that you can reach out to during that time that you are, in school, because that's when the most time it gets frustrating. So those are some of the things, I would tell, my other dyslexic cousins out there, to not get so down on yourself, and just know that your best is enough, and know that you don't have to feel bad about you can't accomplish something at a speed that other people can. But the thing is, we can do it if we put our mind to it. And that's the key. We have to want to set the pace to do it. We can do it, but it definitely takes us a lot more time, and that's okay. And know that, not to look at the time as if it puts a demand on you having to finish right away. But just know that when you feel like you need extra help and you need extra assistance, you need to inform someone. You need to inform your teacher. You need to inform your parent. You need to let someone know, hey, I'm dealing with this. I'm going through this. The speed is too fast. So they can give us the accommodations that we need while we are at home doing online teaching, because sometimes people don't know what we need if we don't speak up. So we have to speak up about what we're dealing with and what we're going through, so that we can get the tools that we need to be successful as being a dyslexic, so that we can continue to win on every journey that is handed out to us. I'm done.
What I have always loved about you, Keita, since I met you, not only do you give from experience, that lived experience that I love to talk about, but you give from a motivational point. I understand you're going through this. That's cool. Everybody else might not understand, but this is how you handle it. These are things that you can do. I love that. But what I love also is you call them your dyslexic cousins. You're creating a community which is inclusive versus people feeling like that there is nobody else around them like them, because it's not necessarily the norm that in a family it's going to be more than just one person with dyslexia. As far as you having cousins that can understand, you having uncles and aunties that you can ask questions and go to, they don't. And if you come from my age and older than me, you will probably label something like dumb or slow or and I hated this, retarded. I hated that. I hated that term for people. And so you using my dyslexic cousins, it's like, boo, it's us. And it's okay with our fly sales, and this is how we're going to handle it. I want to recap a couple of things that you offered. You said to have a routine and a schedule. Also, to take frequent breaks. I love that. When you find yourself getting frustrated, take a break. Or schedule those breaks so you don't get to the point of frustration. You're releasing, you're getting up, you're walking around, you're going to go do something different. You also talked about utilizing stress reducing tools like the fidget. I don't know the correct term. It's the fidget. I call it the fidget widget. What is it called?
I'm not sure the proper term, but she has hers. Yeah. Dr. White, what is the proper term? Do you know?
Fidget spinner.
Fidget, okay, I've been calling it fidget widget. The fidget spinner, the stress balls, and then you said something that was super key. Reach out for help. If you don't tell people what you need, they cannot provide it for you. We're going to hit some of the comments real quick. Cheryl is offering a resource here. If anyone else has a resource or a website that they can offer, please put that in the comments. We would love to share that information. TEA supplemental grant website for students impacted by COVID.
Yeah, she's a current, a retired superintendent who started charter schools in Texas. She's one of the front runners, Dr. Washington, for charter schools in Texas.
All right, Dr. Washington, don't be my next post for Women's History, because I'm posted anyway. The other thing was you had a question from Pastor McCarthy. What are some of the coping mechanisms or tips for adults who may struggle with speaking or get nervous? I love that. High five. Good question. So I would like for both of you all to take it. Let's start with you, Keita.
Oh, wow. I thought Dr. Raye was going to get that first.
Oh, we're coming to her. But see, you're walking through it. So what are some of the tips or coping I'm leaving it up on the screen. What are some of the tips or coping mechanisms for adults who may be struggling with speaking or getting nervous?
So pretty much, this is what I can say as me being, the lived experience. Some of the coping mechanisms, know your abilities based on when you get into a tight situation, know how to inhale and exhale without losing yourself. So we have to find a place of peace. So that is one way when we get into those spaces as far as coping, just get into a space, catch your breath, inhale and exhale. And then there's times where, slow down. If you're speaking, far as if you're public speaking, or if you are asked to speak on site, sometimes if you feel like you can do it, that's fine, but slow down. You don't have to be in a hurry, because when we get in a hurry, we get excited, and then we end up stuttering. We end up give up, and we end up wanting to feel like we wasn't successful at that. So if you do decide to do that, just take your time and don't feel pressure. Don't feel pressure. Also, if you don't feel led to have that conversation right out without reviewing your information, please do open your mouth and say, hey, not right now. Not right now. Maybe once I review it, I can take the time and I will be able to recite this. So those are some my coping mechanisms that I do. I know I've learned some of my triggers regarding what triggers me.
That's good.
And I've learned
triggers.
I learned how to cope with those things so that I don't get outside of myself, because I'm being asked to do something that is very challenging for me to do just on a wing. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
That's good. I love that. Know your triggers. That is so good. That is so good. Dr. White, it's on you.
Well, I would say the exact same thing. If you know that you speak fast, like I'm from Southeast Texas, the big city of Beaumont, and I know when I would teach, I would get so excited, I would start talking so fast, and my students would have to remind me to calm down. So even if you have to know your own cadence, how you talk, and then be able to know that you are taking the time, if someone else is actively listening, that they can get what you're trying to say. So slow down, breathe, know when to be able to pause and stop and use. For me, my face is everything. So my facial expressions is one thing that I used a lot. But also just coming up with things that work for you. If you are doing if you're public speaking and it's not impromptu, make sure that your notes are in front of you and they are the typing, if it's typed or printed, that is large enough for you to see without having any issues. If you use an electronic device, make sure that it's charged so it won't go out. So it's just practice, and you will always be nervous. I don't care how many times you do it or do public speaking, you will always have some form of butterflies or something. And to me, if I don't have the butterflies, then I get worried, because I know I'm not doing what I need to do to get myself where I need to be. And if it's too easy and it comes too easy for you to do, then then maybe you need to up the ante of what you're trying to do and do your best. I'm not saying to be nervous on purpose, but you have to push yourself once you get to a comfort zone, because then it comes too easy. So just keep pushing yourself, practice, and do or find your niche, what makes it easy and fun for you. So I keep a lot of these in my office. So whenever I talk to kids, the fidget spinners, I have so many different coping mechanisms in my office, so the kid can choose which one is best for them, because there's no prescription that fits all.
Right.
You always have to have a bag of tricks.
One size does not fit all. Keita, what do you think about being able to trust yourself? When I say that to you, when we're talking about, actually when we're answering this question for adults that may be struggling, what do you think, what comes to mind when I say trust yourself?
Believe in the strength that's within me.
And drop the mic. All right. And that is it. All righty. So the next question that Pastor McCarthy had is, do you ever get over dyslexia, or is it a lifelong journey? Either one of you can take it first.
I'll take that one. No, you don't get over it. One thing that we're now beginning to learn, that dyslexia is on the spectrum like autism. So people can have it at different degrees or different levels. They're still saying that it is linked genetically. So it's carried on the X chromosome. So there's no cure for it. There's no way. It's a processing skill that we have learned over the years. And the best way I can explain that, normally we process on the left side of our brain. When they took a picture of a person who has a form of dyslexia, it starts on the right side of the brain and has to move to the left side. So that's why it takes them a longer time to process it, because it's moving from a whole different sphere to the left side. Where with people who do not have it, it starts on the left side. So that's one issue, is a processing, and that's why it takes longer. That's why they have to slow down and use the coping skills in order to give their brain enough time to move the information from the right side to the left side.
That was good. Keita, did you want to touch it too?
No, I think Dr. White has covered it, because as I know, she just confirmed and just, normalized me, saying what she said, because, I've been dealing with this since the second grade, and I'm 8 years old and I still deal with it. It gets better as you get older, but there's still things that I deal with day in and day out. I have to practice, repetition. It takes me, about 10 times to do one, something that it would take a person that, have a normal brain pattern, once or twice. So for me, she just normalized it, normalized me and my cousins out there to let others know that with our family members and other people that have family members that's like myself, to know that it's not a joke. We're not playing, and this is real, and this is something that we deal with day in and day out, and that if we don't have certain coping mechanisms available unto us, then really we feel like we are powerless.
Right.
For me, I have my, text to speech software. I have Audible things to read to me. I mean, because if I don't have these things, for me, it's like I'm powerless, because these things make me function day in and day out. I need these different things that I use to make sure that I'm successful in my journey. So yeah, so that's all I have. Thank you.
I love that. Laura Toscano, we're going to come to your question in just 1 second. I want to, while you're on that, Keita, how do you advocate for yourself now as an adult? We heard how Dr. White advocated for her son, and even still advocates as an educator. How do you advocate for yourself as an adult? Because the world is not necessarily shaped or even prepared in some cases for someone with dyslexia. It's almost like someone in a wheelchair going somewhere and there's no ramp. It's just nothing but stairs. So everything is not necessarily equipped or prepared. People even know what dyslexia is. I think they still think that it's just seeing things backwards or out of sequence. So how do you advocate for yourself as an adult? And then we're going to hit your question because I think Dr. White will have an answer for you if I'm saying your name right, Laura. Okay, Keita, go ahead. How do you advocate for yourself as an adult?
So pretty much how I advocate for myself today is, if I'm being challenged with something, I will simply say, I need more time. I will ask them, let me review it. Give me a few minutes and I will review this. And, I have no problem reciting it. I have no problem doing it. I just need a little more time.
Yeah.
When it comes to my day-to-day, W-2 job, there's a lot of different things far as digital, like software, electronics that we use, like your emails, they read to you, or you can even into your emails to be able to assist you with writing things out properly, and being able to listen back to what you have written. And now with the different softwares, it will put punctuations in there, will tell you this word needs to be changed to not the word there, THEIR or THERE, and I still get confused. So, you know, with the different softwares that's out there, it assists me to be able to help me to be able to function. And, you know, also I download certain apps on my personal cell phone to be able to assist me if I need certain things to be recited, you know, to me. So those are some of the things that I do today to advocate for myself, and just, you know, to make sure that I have the tools that I need to be able to function. And if I don't, I simply, everybody's not where I'm at, so I can't say that everybody will do this. But what I can say, when you get to a point where you are fed up with not having the tools that you need, then you will say something about it, because it's not easy just to say to somebody, no, not today, or no, I'm not able. We have to build confidence and self-esteem to get to certain levels to be able to have these conversations, to be able to advocate for yourself. And that's why I am here to do what I do, to help people to be able to build their self-esteem, to give them confidence so that they can self-advocate for themselves, because some people are not in a position to do it because their confidence is just not even there. Right. So that's all I have.
I love that. Get ready for the next question, Dr. White. Keita, before you go on mute, can you name a couple of the software or resources that you do use, so for someone out there listening, they can jot that down?
Well, since I am on the spot here, I don't, I mean, I do have a software called Dragon. So Dragon is one of the softwares I do use, and I've been using Dragon for decades now. There are other softwares out there, and these softwares are paid softwares. These are not free softwares. So that is a software, and I have a few others on my phone that I don't know the name off the top of my head. Far as that, when it comes to me wanting to be able to read, because some people read for relaxment. I don't read for relaxment at one point, but now I do. But I listen to Audible, and that's on Amazon, to be able, so I can be able to experience, you know, books, being able to, you know, to read certain books that comes out that I'm attracted to, that, you know, that's something that I'm interested in. So those are some of the things that I do. Also, I do you know, the voice memos that's on your cell phone. If you have an iPhone, maybe, you know, Android has that as well. I also do a lot of voice threads, and I kind of send those out to family and friends if I feel like I'm being challenged today with spelling, or being able to physically speak into my my software for it to spell to me. So I do a lot of voice threads. So those are some of the techniques that I use day in and day out to function.
I love that. I love it. Dr. White, will you please read the question and then answer it as well?
How do you know that you are dyslexic as an adult? Because I only tend to mix my numbers. I came on late. I don't know, because the more research that I do, I truly believe that I am myself. Because it's part of a spectrum. It's not just because we see the letters backwards or the numbers backwards. Again, it's a processing deficiency. And so now they're saying, if you have a hard time processing when you're reading and comprehending, because it takes your brain a longer to get it to move from one side to the next. Right. So it's not just because they write backwards or this, it's a whole spectrum now that they're using to classify dyslexia.
So if someone is interested in finding out if they are dyslexic, or as an adult, I have these learning, because I know for children, there's a lot of resources available. Where does an adult go? What can they do? Is there a website? Is there a place that you can recommend? Like, what's the starting point?
For an adult, what I can say there is, I'm looking for, I have it in front of me. Hold on. I thought I had printed it out, but I couldn't find the printout. So if you go to, this is one website that helped, that I use, Dyslexia Help, and it's at the University of Michigan.
Let me type it in. So is the website is Dyslexia Help?
Mm-hmm. UMICH@edu.
I'm sorry, UMICH?
University of Michigan, but it's just Mich.edu.
Okay. So
there's dyslexia.
I have dyslexiahelp.umich.edu.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then there's another one, dyslexia, but it's spelled DYSLEXIAIDA.org.
You got to do it for me one more time.
Okay. DYSLEXIAIDA.org. And then for the parents who are homeschooling their kids, there's one called homeschoolingwithdyslexia.com.
Okay. So on the other one, you said dyslexia IDA.org.
I is DYSLEXIAIDA.org.
Got it. And then the last one was
homeschoolingwithdyslexia.com.
Okay. All right. While I'm typing that in, Laura says this is eye-opening for her. We lost Dr. White. That's okay. She'll be back. I think I have some form of dyslexia. What would you say to her, Keita? Laura thinks she may have some form. If you can give us why you think that, Laura, maybe some of the symptoms or things that you've been noticing. But what would you say to her, Keita? What should she do? Schooling with dyslexia.
That's a good question. Because as we know, years ago, we was not doing the testing that is being taken place today.
Right.
So if she feels that she, may have a touch of she may have a touch of dyslexia, then there, like some of the sites that Dr. Raye kind of gave will also help. But you can also just look at the different statistics of some of the things that you may be, battling with or challenged with, far as, when it comes to, now, if you're bilingual, then that's another thing too, because we know that we have persons that is bilingual that do have dyslexia based on their dyslexia may be in their native tongue. So me saying all that, I would look at the statistics of some of the things that she may have a struggle in when it comes to, pronunciation, when it comes to reading, when it comes to her being able to spell out words. Do she find herself, kind of stumbling over spelling, or she gets nervous when she has to read out loud? There's certain things, like certain symptoms that, one may have, when it to associate with being dyslexia, because every dyslexic is different. We are not all the same. It's not like, for example, you have some dyslexics. For me, mine is reading, writing, and pronunciation. So that's my, that's where I'm at. But yours may not be that. It may be spelling for you. So everyone is different. So I would say, if you truly really want to know, then do some research regarding if you do have a touch of dyslexia, and also review some of those websites that Dr. White did provide to be a help unto you. Hopefully I answered your question.
Dr. White, I have a question for you as it pertains to Laura's question, but before I post this, you said homeschooling with dyslexia was at .org or .com?
.com.
.com. So her question was, because we lost you for just a second.
Yes.
She said that the conversation was really eye-opening for her because she thinks she has some form of dyslexia. Oh, she said I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. And thank you, ladies, from Laura. So Dr. White, what can it medically, should an adult be talking to their regular physician? Like, who do they talk to medically if they think they may have dyslexia? Like, say they go to the resources that you're providing, stuff starts to check off on the list. It's sounding really familiar to them. What's their next step? Where do they need to go?
No, the medical doctor would not be able to assist. My thing is to get, if you're really serious, and this may sound basic, phonics. Review and learn the phonics. Go back to the beginning. That is what I review over and over with the students that I work with, because I do dyslexia sessions. Just knowing the phonetic way to pronounce the word, knowing the difference if the how the A and the W makes, when it's the vowel is in front of a W, the W connects with the vowel, like with saw. And and so just basic phonics, phonetic awareness, and that is so easy. The kids that I work with, when we go over words and they can't remember how to spell it, I say the phonemes. So we say best. I say best. And just practice that, and then they will always learn just the I before E except after C. So there isn't like a prescription, but I do know basic phonics, knowing the phonemes really help. And I'm telling you, since I had to learn it, I'm learning a lot more. I was like, I wish I knew this when I was in college. I can remember this because it's helping me as well. And that's why I say the more I do this, I'm like, I think I'm dyslexic as well. But the thing is, and you have to be able and be willing to do what you need to do to get the help. Another thing that we are beginning to see is when a student is dyslexic, they're easy to have what we call dysgraphia. And that is with the writing, having the difficulties with the writing, where you have a hard time understanding it. So that's why during my sessions, when I work with them, I make them write. And I even work with middle school and high school kids, and they get upset because we are writing alphabets like we are in kindergarten or the first grade. So just practicing your writing, if you know that you have some form of dysgraphia and you're not a doctor and get paid to have the scribble scratch, you know how they have that, but that's one thing. And just if you're an adult and you don't have the resources to get help from a psychologist or someone that specializes with learning disabilities, again, just do not be afraid to go back to the basics. Learn like I said, the phonics, and that has made such a big difference. Another thing for some of the kids, I had a girl in the 8th grade who still didn't know her ABCs.
Ooh, wow.
And don't sing the alphabet song.
Right.
That's one thing they tell you now. Do not learn or teach.
That's just
the
song
alphabet song.
Yeah.
No. And that is the hardest thing, because when you get to LMNOP, when you sing it, they just go
LMNOP. Yep.
And then at the end, they say X, Y, and Z. And is not an alphabet. But some
Right.
kids are writing those because they learn the alphabet song, and that's what they do. Do not teach your kids the alphabet song. I'm telling you, that's the first thing when we have the everyone A, B, stop singing. Don't sing that song. So because they're not actually pronouncing every single letter.
Right.
That's the main reason. So yeah, just basic stuff.
Wow. I agree with you, Keith. Wow. There's so much more I want to ask. We're getting ready to actually close up the interview because I don't want to hold you all night. So with that being said, you all have an amazing podcast, and you also hold space on Clubhouse. You all tell us about that so everyone can find out that does not know, and then tell everyone how they can connect with you. We'll start with you, Dr. White.
All right. Well, Keita and we do have a podcast on Clubhouse. I say her name wrong all the time. It's called Overcoming Dyslexia and Other Stigmas, because we are going to start talking about all of the different types of learning disabilities that are out there. And so we started there. We have been picked up by an online television station, and we'll start promoting it this month with TAN TV. And then I personally have my own website called the Raye, THERAYE.org. And you can reach out to me there. And if you leave your contact information, I can get back with you.
And that is theraye.org?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll put that in the comments for you. All righty. There we go. Miss Keita A. Pratt.
Yes, so pretty much just like Dr. White stated, we do have this amazing podcast that we started on Clubhouse every first and third Tuesday. You can definitely check us out at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we are definitely there to have real, open, and authentic conversations. So you definitely have to get on the platform and check us out. And like Dr. White stated, we will be covering other stigmas on the platform, so you don't want to miss it. And we also will be doing a webinar every Thursday, once a month, to have that real conversation, to be able to, have people ask us questions throughout the podcast. So you can reach me. I'm everywhere on social media as Keita A. Pratt. So that will be my Facebook, that will be my Instagram, and I also am on I want to say Twitter as well as Keita A. Pratt. And I also just obtained a nonprofit organization called Invisible Ability to be able to assist my cousins like me, to give them the resources that they need. So that is in the making. It did come through this month, so you will see more of Invisible Ability regarding the work that we will do in your community. So if you want to reach out to me, some of my cousins, my other dyslexic cousins, want to reach out to me, so that we can get together, so we can start the work in our communities and let people know we are real, and we show up in unity, because we know we can move mountains when we come together. So pretty much that is who I am, and you can definitely DM me, reach out to me, and I will have more regarding my website and other stuff to come. So that's all I have, Miss Nikki, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Miss Nikki, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention on my website, I do offer other services besides being a special ed advocate. So I am on both sides of the table there. I do work with parents when they have to go to an ARD, if they need for me to review, give them recommendations on what they can do. I also offer tutoring services for students who need additional support besides what they receive at school. And then I also do college and career counseling.
Wait a minute, before you close that up. First of all, Keita, you didn't do your signature. This is Keita A. Pratt, so I'm gonna need you to do that. But Miss Dr. White, ARD, for those that are still learning how to advocate and find out, how they can help their child within the school system, tell them what ARD is. And you mentioned the IEP earlier too. Tell us briefly what those things are, because if they don't know about these, you're gonna give them the information about it right now.
Okay, so if a student is classified or labeled as special education, you will have to have a meeting, which is an ARD. It's the annual review. They do it once a year. And then during that time, it's the professionals, the LSSP, the teacher, administrator, the special ed department, and they come up with an IEP, which is the individual education plan for your child. And that's when they will come up with the modifications that your child will receive, decide on testing, if they will take the regular STAR test or if they would have to have some form of accommodations, like have the STAR test read to them. Do they get extended time? So all of that is decided as a group. So don't let the school come and say, we're going to do this, 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 and this. You as the parent have to agree to it as well. So that's what happens in the ARD. And then, like say, you develop the IEPs, come up with their plan and their modifications.
I love that. Be your child's biggest advocate. Be your own biggest advocate in all aspects and areas of life. Have y'all enjoyed these champions, these advocates, these educators, these strategists, these warriors tonight? If you have, show them how much you appreciate them and how beneficial the information was to you by sharing this interview. Put it on your pages. I know I'm shocked she didn't do it, but I'm gonna make her do it tonight, Miss Sandra. That's one of the first things that drew me to her when I met her on Clubhouse some months back. But yeah, show your support by reposting this interview. And even if the person that you want to share this with does not have dyslexia, just learning how to advocate for themselves by listening to these ladies tonight in whatever area of life they may be afraid to speak up or ask questions or reach out for help. Or if they're an adult that feels like, well, I'm too old now, this will definitely give them the empowerment that they need. With that being said, we're getting ready to drop the mic and end the interview, but we cannot do so until you do your signature. This is Keita A. Pratt. Someone needs you to go ahead and handle that, please, ma'am.
Oh, wow. Okay, so pretty much I have to say my spiel in order to close this out. So pretty much I am here. I am Keita A. Pratt. I am here to motivate, encourage you, and inspire you to get to your greater good. I am here to get you from good to great to unlocking your greatness. This is Keita A. Pratt, and it has been amazing. You all have a good evening. Thank you so much, Miss Nikki, and thank you, Dr. Raye White. Thank you so much.
Mic drop. Dr. White, thank you so very much for trusting me with you tonight. When I reached out to you all, I know you didn't know me from anybody, but I appreciate you trusting me and trusting God with all of us tonight. You guys are so amazing. You women are champions, you're warriors, you are advocates, but the passion that you have to help, it shines. You can feel it, you can hear it. You two stay right there, because when we're off of here, we have some business we need to take care of. But thank you so much, Keita. As always, you know how much I love and appreciate you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being unafraid and for being unapologetic. But also thank you for everything that you walked through with your yes to be at this point in your life right now. Thank you, ladies. I honor you both. Thank all of you for watching, for listening. Oh, we have so many comments coming in for you guys. Hold on. Your mom says, thank you, ladies, for the good work. Keith sends you love. Oh, thank you, Miss Sandra. I'm so blessed. I am so blessed that God allows me to do this. Thank you so much. And she also says, thank you to you both. All righty. Now with that said, we're going to officially drop the mic. Oh, wait a minute. If you guys would like to catch more interviews that I've done with amazing overcomers, please visit theobstacleovercomer.com or find all of the interviews and the videos replays on where are they? YouTube at the Obstacle Overcomer Podcast. I'm sorry, I still got comments coming in. So please look out for more interviews. Please support people that are struggling and going through. You never know who the next whoever is going to be by what they're walking through today. With that being said, I'm not putting up any more comments. Love you guys so much and thank you for watching. And as always, you all are overcomers. Obstacles are not barriers. Kick them down and they become your stepping stones. Talk to y'all next interview.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If this was your first time tuning in, welcome to the Overcomers family. I cannot adequately express my gratitude to all of you for tuning in today. If today's show helped or impacted you in any way, it would help me tremendously if you would review and rate today's episode. And please be sure to leave me a comment on whatever platform you are listening to this podcast. Also, be sure to connect with me over on Facebook and Instagram at the Obstacle Overcomer Podcast. And if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, you will be notified every time there's a new episode available. And don't forget that sharing is caring. So please go ahead and tell a friend and share this with your loved one, because this will help me to reach those who really need a word to empower their lives. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget that obstacles are not barriers. They are stepping stones. Talk to you next.